I'm Big Bear Nose, and on this week's episode here on the CONKREALM Minecraft Survival Realm, it's finally time for me to pretty up the area surrounding my base. We have a lot of work to do, so follow me while I walk you through it. First things first, I clear up some of the trees in front of my base, because I want to do some terraforming to create a river that travels from the beach on the left of my base, and wraps around to the pond that we have on the right side of our base. I start by digging out a trench where the water will go, taking the time to really think about the shape of this river. I don't want it to be just a straight line, I want it to feel like it could be naturally generated terrain. And so I continue digging the trench all the way to the beach, and now that I'm happy with the shape on this side of the base, it's time to move on to the other side of the base. Once again I knock out the trees that are blocking our way, I fill out the land a little, and then I start digging. It isn't long before our trench connects to the valley down below, which will open the pond into. But before we do that, we have to fill our river with water. So with an infinite water supply nearby, I get bucketing. Now instead of an endless sea of green in front of our base, we'll have a nice blue river breaking up all of that green on the horizon. Adding all the water is a fairly quick process, and before long I've connected our river to the ocean. I'm happy with how this looks, but I also have to think about how this fits into the scenery around. So while I fill out the trench, I'm thinking about how deep the river should be and how wide the river should be. Having connected the other side of the river to the pond, I decide first of all that the river needs to be at least 1 block wider. So I turn it from 3 blocks wide to 4 blocks wide, and then to make it feel like a real body of water, I make it 1 block deeper. And now it feels less like a little stream, and more like a whole river. And for the part of the river that sits directly in front of our base, I'm thinking I want to add a bridge. And I want to make sure we have a lot of freedom in how we design the bridge, so I make this part of the river 5 blocks wide. And in front of the river, I pad out the land a little bit, so when you approach the base, you don't just go straight from an incline to the bridge. And so there we have it, the complete river around our base. I'm really happy with how this looks, and I think it's going to make the approach to the base a lot more interesting. But we're not done yet. The river serves as a border around the grounds of our base, and now we have to fill those grounds. First things first, I wipe out all of the trees, because as much as they served the previous iteration of our base well, they were all clumped together, and if we're going to use this space wisely, we need to be much smarter about our tree placement. With the trees gone, I can start thinking about how I want to use this space. I know that as well as a bridge at the front of the base, I want a path leading to the beach on the left side of our base, where we can have a dock for fishing, and where we can set sail in safety. So I start charting the path, and once it's complete, I know which area of our base's grounds are going to be walked through the most, and need some interesting light sources lining them. I start with the path leading to the river, where I create a design using stone walls as a base, spruce and dark oak fences as a pole, a lantern as the light source, and dark oak trapdoors for the top. Having tested it out in front of the base, I really like the design for these, and so I go ahead and line this path with them mirrored on both sides. And once we have all of them lined up, I think these look really good, and they make this walk up to the base feel a little more handcrafted. But to be able to get to that walk up to the base, we need to build that bridge. So I spent some time on a creative world coming up with the design for our bridge, which fits aesthetically with the lanterns we created. I mix in stone bricks and mossy stone bricks, because I want our base to give the impression that it's old and worn. It's been here for a long time, and isn't taken care of quite as well as it used to be. This is in direct contrast to the underground portion of our base, with those sleek white quartz walls, where everything is well lit and clean, giving the impression that things are happening down there. Something nobody walking over this musty bridge, or walking into the cozy cabin up behind us, would ever suspect. Unless of course they've watched my CONKREALM videos. I use dark oak fences and dark oak fence gates for the railings. I've become kind of obsessed with using fence gates to provide some variation in structures that otherwise would just be straight fences. And we have this gate over the bridge, which again uses dark oak fences, as well as a spruce fence, and is topped with spruce trapdoors. I replace a couple of the fences with fence gates, and for the final touches I add a lantern on either side of the gate. And there we have it, this is the final design for our bridge. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think it's the perfect entrance to our base. Before I add the trees to our grounds, I want to add some decoration to make them a little more interesting. So I start adding the firefly bushes to a corner of the river where I think it'll be nice to have a little campsite. My decorating is interrupted by a wandering trader who has pale oak logs for sale, and this is big because there is no pale garden within the world border here on CONKREALM. I quickly rush to the underground portion of our base and grab all of the emeralds I've collected, and for the first time make a trade with this guy. In total I managed to get half a stack of pale oak logs, which is not a lot, but I'm hoping we'll be able to use them for some of the rooms in our underground base. We'll just have to be careful to use them sparingly. And before I forget, I add a final touch to our bridge, adding some vines on either side to once again add to that aesthetic, indicating that nature has taken over. And to complement that, I want to plant as many saplings as I can around the approach to our base because I don't want it to be easy to find. I want it to be a surprise as you're traveling through some dense woods and you glimpse the mossy stone brick bridge out of the corner of your eye. With the saplings planted, I add the end of a path on the outside side of the bridge to indicate that at one point in time, perhaps many years ago, there might have been a path leading here, one that has been lost as the base has fallen into disuse. With the bridge and the lead up to our base finally complete, it's time to shift our focus elsewhere. The beach on the left side of our base currently houses our sugarcane farm, not that it is much of a farm, and needs to be transformed into a dock. Dark oak and spruce are really carrying this week because spruce planks are going to make up the base of the dock. I use spruce trapdoors for the decline into the water. This will be the point where we can jump onto our boat or stand on the end of the dock doing some fishing. I don't think the spruce planks on their own look good enough, so I intersperse them with some more spruce trapdoors. And I'm kind of liking the aesthetic here, but once I have all of the spruce trapdoors laid out, I think they look a little samey, so I swap a few of them out for spruce trapdoors facing the other way. And now we have enough variation here that I think it looks a lot more interesting. This dock is definitely a little crudely made, likely having a lot of repairs and patchwork done over the years, and I think we've caught the right aesthetic for that. I'm sure it won't surprise you at all, but we're using dark oak fences and dark oak fence gates for the railings. They lead down right to the end of the dock, and before the descent we have 2 lanterns on either side to keep the dock well lit at night. And that is the dock complete. Before we move on, I do want to replace some of the grass around the area with sand so that the beach feels more like an actual beach. I also think right next to the water here, the yellow beige of the sand complements the browns of the dock much better than the grass does. And there we have our dock complete too. Next, it's time I finally do something I've been putting off for weeks. The back of our bare base is just a steep drop down to the forest below and needs some serious terraforming so that it's more of a gradual decline and we have some space to work with behind there. There's not too much I want to do behind there, but I would like to put some trees behind the base so that it's less empty when you're staring at it at a distance. And now for our final task, before we plant trees and add the last bits of decoration within the grounds of our base, I need some lights for the path to the dock, and for that I'm gonna need some jungle wood. I sailed to this island nearby, where I'm surprised to find some warm variant chickens. I only had found this island last week. Still, I'm able to grab all the wood I need, and even some warm chicken eggs, so that once I'm home, hopefully I can hatch a few and add them to our livestock facility. We make the journey home, and it feels so good to be able to disembark our boat on an actual dock, instead of having to wade through a row of sugarcane. Luck is on our side, because we do manage to get a couple of warm variant chickens out of these eggs, and now with all the materials we need, we can head back outside and get working on those lights. I don't want these lights to stand out as much as the lampposts that we have lining the lead up to the base. I want them to be smaller and to blend in a little more, so I'm using shroom lights wrapped with jungle wood trapdoors, adorned with some leaves on top. With all our little shroom light lanterns lined up, I'm really happy with how these turned out, and finally we can get started planting trees on the grounds of our base. Once the trees are fully grown, I use the wildflowers and leaf litter that we collected last week to add a little extra finish to our wondrous woods. And finally, I take some bone meal all around the grounds to to add some extra detail and visual noise in those little spots where I think it's needed. There we have it, our wondrous woods are complete, so allow me to give you a little tour. As the traveler makes their way through the woods for the first time on the CONKREALM Minecraft survival realm, they may come across something peculiar. An old path leading to a worn bridge. If they cross the bridge into the wondrous woods behind, they'll see a bear-themed cabin sitting atop a hill. There's a small path on the right. If they follow it, they'll be taken through to the woods and led out to a secret beach where a worn dock sits, with only a single boat docked and waiting. And if they follow the little path back towards the hill, they might notice a secret path of fallen leaves leading to a campfire by the river. A log chair sits before it, where travelers past must have rested and enjoyed some roasted marshmallows. And as the sun sets, it becomes clear why this was chosen as a spot to camp, as the firefly bushes come alive and the fireflies dance around the traveler. And that is our tour complete. I'm really happy with how the grounds around our base have come together with our bridge, dock, lights, and the wonderful forest all around us. I think all the designs I came up with complement each other really well, and although the campsite here is very simple, when these fireflies come out at night, the ambiance it creates is absolutely magical. And that's going to do it for this week's CONKREALM. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find Conker87's channel down in the description below. I hope you'll join me next week when we finish the underground base. Until next time, have a very great day.